Welcome to the Cold War. Welcome to an island that was closed for foreigners. Welcome to a top secret facility. Let's start. First of all, I want to thank all my patrons, members, donors and subscribers. All of you are important for me. Thank you very much. During the Cold War, Sweden was a neutral country. We didn't belong to NATO, we didn't belong to the Warsaw Pact. We lived in between those both forces. But our defense was based on the doctrine the enemy is coming from the east. Today I will talk about Sweden's coastal defense during the Cold War. And don't worry, it's a flat earth killer. If you were planning to visit the island I will talk about in this video, you would seen this sign at the ferry to the island. On this island it lives about 200 people, but during the Cold War 1,200 soldiers was stationed here if the war comes. So what secrets did the mountains on this island have? But first I will talk a bit about the purpose with those facilities. Sweden's border to the east is mainly coast to the Baltic Sea. So if we have been attacked by the Warsaw Pact, it would possibly been from the sea. The first thing an attacking force would have met was our Air Force, and after that our Navy. If they managed to pass the Air Force and the Navy, the next they would have met was the type of facilities you will find on this island. During the 50s, Sweden started to build the coastal defense. The first part was to cover the whole coast with radar stations, and they had to build many radar stations to cover the long coast of Sweden. But of course, if the earth was flat, you wouldn't need so many radar stations because they have a limitation because of the radar horizon. And the military built their own telephone network and radio stations. And then they started to build big facilities deep down in the mountains. And in this video we will look at 3 of them. Not so long ago, this was one of Sweden's most secret places. Let me tell you the secrets about this facility. This is a military measurement site. Let's have a look from above. Under this glass fiber pad, it's a laser to measure distances to ships. You have a video camera and you have an optical measurement system. Under this one you have a big radar. And what's under this square-shaped house? Let's have a look. This is what you have inside the small house. It's the entrance to the facility. And here I'm looking down to the stairs down. Down there is a big hole in the mountain, and in it you have a building hanging in feathers in the roof. The facility had its own power plant, water supply and so on, and they could stay down there for 90 days without any contact with the outside world. 20 people was working in this small facility. And the purpose of this type of facilities was to find enemy ship, to identify them and send information to the bigger facilities with ships' locations, what direction they was moving and so on. Let's move on to the next facility. This is a 7.5 centimeter coastal artillery cannon. This facility have 3 of those. Each cannon had a crew of 7, and it was capable of firing 25 shots per minute, and the speed of the projectiles was 850 meters per second. The range was 12 kilometers. During the Cold War, Sweden have 30 of this kind of facilities. Deep down in the mountain, the soldiers lived during their service. The facility had place for 120 soldiers, and they had their own power plant. They have fresh water, they had workshops, kitchen, and so on. And this facility also had a mine station around the area under the sea. Even in peacetime, there are mine lines that was triggered by manual or by magnetic sounds and so on. Okay, let's move on to the big facility. This is a 15.2 centimeters coastal artillery cannon. It can fire 4 to 5 shots per minute per barrel, and it have a maximum range of 22 kilometers. It was 25 people working in each cannon, and this facility have 3 of those. In addition to this, it have 3 40mm anti-aircraft cannons. It have several 20mm automatic cannons to fight on the ground around the facility. 40 meters down in the mountain under the cannons, you have the facility. It had room for 320 soldiers. The facility is 4,800 square meters, and from one end to the other end it's about 600 meters. Down in the mountain they had everything they needed to survive up to 90 days without any contact with the outside world. They had storage room, they had food, they had water, they had their own power plant, they had workshops, hospitals, kitchen, and they had all that they needed. And the facility is preserved. It's in the same shape as when the last soldier left this facility in the 90s. It's the same with the other 2 facilities I showed. They are exactly as when they were in use. But is those facilities flat Earth killers? Of course they are. All 3 facilities have radar. the first one it placed 35 meters up, on the second one 20 meters up, and on the big one 115 meters above sea level. And the range for the radar is shortest on the facility with 7.5 centimeter cannons, and a bit longer on that first one I showed you, and the longest range on the big facility I showed. The radar stations by the coast in Sweden was placed on distances so the horizon wasn't a problem. The whole coast was radar covered. On all facilities like the ones I showed today, it was important to know the distance to the radar horizon. The radar horizon for the big facility was about 45 kilometers away, and the range they could shoot on was 22 kilometers. But these facts was important to know because they were blind further away. 55 kilometers out at sea, they wasn't able to see ships. So therefore they communicated with other facilities and gather information of movements at sea, so they were prepared for attack. I will talk more about this in upcoming episodes. This was more startup information about basic information regarding the defense and the usage of radar and so on. In upcoming episodes I will go in more to depth how those system works. A question I often get asked is if this type of facilities would be used if we got into a war today. The quick answer to that one is no, not at all. The big facility is built late 50s, with the smaller guns is built in the beginning of the 60s, and the first one I showed, the smallest one, was built late 60s. They were in service until the beginning of the 90s and was modernized during those years they were in service. Today we use anti-ship missiles instead that can be carried by an airplane, a lorry or a ship. And this type of cannons, you can't move them, so you're a sitting duck. Today's weapon systems are moved to the battle. This type of weapons is a defense. You're waiting for the enemy to attack a certain place. And if you fire this type of cannon against a modern enemy, it would take them roughly 30 seconds before they know the exact location of the cannon. And then it's open the door and run. I hope you did find this video interesting. I will keep on making videos on this topic, but be more specific about what's in it proves the globe. All videos and photos is in this video is taken by me and owned by me, besides the ones on Russian ships, on the Swedish ships and on the airplane. Once again, I want to thank all for looking at my videos. The ad revenues, super chats, super thanks, memberships, all goes to Ukraine, and I double the sum and sending it to Ukraine. See you next time. Have a nice day.